Attention, devoted fans. We may get overridden tonight. We shall see. You know, we got some, there are some severe thunderstorm alerts in the area. We, of course, are connected to the emergency alert system, like a good little radio station should be. And they do have the ability to override our broadcast in the event that they feel something is newsworthy enough to pass along to you in terms of gigantic hail and strong winds and thunderstorms, things like that. So if that happens, you'll know why. Kind of beyond our control, but it's obvious for good reason. So hopefully we'll get through an hour and we won't have any more of those. We already have had some this afternoon, but we are glad you are here this evening on Sports Talk Tonight. Denny Bedard minus my co-host, Scott Gurnsey, vacationing this week. I tried to get a couple of fill-in co-hosts, and they said, no thanks. Maybe some other time. So I know that when I'm gone the last week of Wednesday, people will line up to co-host with Gurnsey, but nobody would want to co-host with me. So that's what you're getting into, working with me, Justin, because you and I will be working together a little bit this fall. So
well, it sounds like I was the last pick. Thanks, Denny.
No, you have been on the calendar for weeks.
I know.
You've been ducking me, and you can't duck me any longer, so it's a treat to have you here. Later on in the show, we will have University. Our house band member was nice enough to come in the second half of the show. Jamie Pinkerton, head coach of University of Montana Grizzly softball. We'll talk about the team's regular season and their performance in the Big Sky Conference tournament. Heck of a year. Only 2 years. Program is only 2 years old and well on their way to some great things. So Jamie will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. But until that point, by the way, we are sponsored. This portion of Sports Talk Tonight is brought to you by Orange Street Food Farm. Locally owned and operated grocery store featuring the freshest fruits and vegetables, fresh meats, and a great beer and wine selection. That's the Orange Street Food Farm. I'm talking with Justin Barnes. Now, Justin is I guess I'll still say new. You've been here a few months, I know.
I'm playing the new card for as long as I can.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Helps you get away with stuff, right?
That's right.
A little bit. Justin Barnes is the general manager of, I always say, Learfield Sports, doing business as Grizzly Sports Properties, but I guess we could just say Grizzly Sports Properties. Is that
whatever makes you happy? Yeah, Grizzly Sports Properties is generally what we call ourselves, and we are a property of Learfield. It used to be Learfield Sports, and everyone will have to get used to dropping the sports technically from the name, so we are Learfield now. And we are the official multimedia rights holder for the Montana Grizzlies.
And welcome to Missoula. Congratulations on congratulations on the promotion. And that's not to knock. Sure. That's not to knock your last job.
That's right. Yeah.
Because that sounded like a pretty good one too.
Sure. So,
but you came quite a ways to take this job.
That's right. Yeah, I moved to Missoula about 3 months ago now, and it's boy, what a place to be, and could not be happier here. I moved pretty far to get here. I was held the same position that I have at Grizzly Sports Properties with Learfield at the University of New Hampshire in Durham, New Hampshire. Was my last gig. So drove across the country about 3.5 months ago and have really not stopped moving since I got here. And as you know, with the Grizzlies, we touch so many people across the state that I've had a lot of people to meet and still have a lot of people to meet. So it's been fun.
Have you had the opportunity to go to other parts of the state and do that yet?
Yeah, actually, I just got back from Helena today.
Okay.
I had a meeting down there, a couple of meetings. I've been to Bozeman. I've been, not to mention that name too closely to Missoula, but I've been to Bozeman. I've been to Butte, Great Falls. I feel like I've made my way around. And
yeah, you're getting there.
Yeah, I learned the lesson pretty quickly that to visit anyone in Missoula only takes me 10 minutes or so, but to visit anyone else in the state is about 3 hours.
Sure.
I've learned the hard way. So.
Yeah, lots of ground to cover. And what attracted you to this position? You were placed. And Nick and I became pretty good buddies. I hope Nick does well in his position. But Nick was here for, I don't know,
I think almost 10 years, I think.
Was it that long?
8 or 9, yeah.
Nick Garner was the general manager of Grizzly Sports Properties, Learfield. And Nick moved on to a similar position, I assume, at the University of Missouri, which opened up this job for you. What appealed to it?
A lot of people ask me that. So although New Hampshire is in the same conference in a lot of ways and similarly sized in terms of school and enrollment, what drew me to a program like this one is that in a state like Montana, there isn't the pro competition that we feel in the New England states. So when I was out in New Hampshire, and before that I worked at the University of Maine, when we're selling strategic partnerships to corporations and organizations that are looking to connect with the fans, in New England, we're kind of behind the Patriots, the Red Sox, the Celtics, the Bruins. Here, and this is what's so great about the University of Montana, it's the Grizz is the first team that people think of. So it's been really fun to be representing a team that holds so much power and influence within the state. I also am just drawn to Montana for the culture, for the beauty of it, the pace of it. It really is personally a great fit for me. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I fish, I kayak, I hike, I camp. So it's really been a great fit for me personally as well.
And your background, how you got to this point.
Yeah, great question. So I went to school at the University of Maine, where I got my bachelor's degree in journalism, but a focus in advertising. That led me to advertising sales, where I worked for a local television station in Bangor, Maine, a CBS affiliate. From there, at that station, we aired the University of Maine hockey games. So I got to know the athletic department at the university, eventually took a job within Learfield, eventually was promoted to general manager. From there, I went to become the general manager of New Hampshire, and then again now, 10 years later, general manager at University of Montana, and looking to stay here. Really happy, and not that I wasn't satisfied and successful in those other schools, but I really was looking for a school like this where it is, we are the face of sports in Montana, and that's powerful.
Right. So it's been about a 10 or 11-year journey so far.
With Learfield, yeah. It's almost been 10 years with Learfield, so that's crazy to think.
And of course, when you're talking about marketing partnerships and long-term agreements, and it's a great product to be identified with. It's a fairly, your advertisers need to think about the investment and things like that. But you've always got to be thinking ahead 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and you sort of fell into it here at a time where your staff is probably, hey, we got to start looking at 2017 and all. So a little bit of a baptism by fire there, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone keeps saying, hey, I'm drinking from a fire hose, which it definitely has been. And this is, as much as everyone likes to joke that over the summer without school in session, we're golfing and barbecuing all day. This is actually within sponsorship and in a lot of the department, to be frank, our busiest time of the year, because we are lining up everything for, in this case, the 16-17 year. And as you said, really trying to look ahead as far as we can into 17, 18, 18, 19. And it's the strategic planning. It's the video scoreboards. It's the new inventory that we can add, the new events that we can create. And we're lucky to have a really loyal, solid base of sponsors here, so that it makes it a little easier to keep planning for the future.
And, of course, obviously there wouldn't be a Grizzly Sports Properties without the Grizzlies. Your offices are located in the Adams Center. Very, very close marketing partnership with the University of Montana, with all the athletic department personnel.
Yeah, absolutely. So my direct report in the department is Kent, the director of athletics.
Kent Haslam.
And Greg Sundberg is more my day-to-day contact. And, really, and credit to Kent, credit to Greg, the department really is run like a family, which is to say that everyone cares about what the other, side of the department is doing. There's no silos. Everyone is very open with each other, very supportive. So it's been a fun environment to join. And we also have some more new blood in the department. I know Nick Jutla joined just before I did, and Nick's managing the premium seats and the suites there. So it's fun to kind of see the next generation of the athletic department, I think, come in and on the success of such a strong program until we've gotten here.
You haven't had a chance to experience football live and in person yet. A little bit of basketball, but has anything surprised you? Is there anything different that jumps out at you as far as the way Grizzly Sports Properties is conducted, say, compared to New Hampshire Wildcat Sports Property?
So I think the most important part for us, I think, is the relationship side of what we do. As much as the advertising that we sell has value, and as much as we can prove the return on investment, and we can show the number of eyeballs, for example, at a football game that see a sign. The most important part here, and I think in any business like ours is the importance of creating real, genuine relationships with your sponsors and with your corporate partners. It's that kind of client-first attitude that we really hold near and dear, and that's really brought to us from Learfield's culture. And I think because of that, I think Nick probably is feeling the same way at Mizzou. To be successful, we have to run the properties that way first. We think about our clients, we think about our employees. And, to be honest, Learfield is one of the only company that I know of, but the only one that I've worked for that adds a line about love others to their mission statement. And so that's fun for someone like me who tends to be a kind of a loving guy. Right. I like to have that charge. So.
I'll remind them of that if they call and yell at me about something.
That's right, yes.
During football season this year. Right. Just to remind them of that. Let me ask you too, as far as the marketing of University of Montana sports. By the way, Justin Barnes is our guest. Justin is the newly appointed general manager of Grizzly Sports Properties, Learfield. And when we talk about a marketing arm and advertising, obviously what we're referring to, we being the radio and it being the voice of the Grizz, I think that's probably what people maybe associate the advertising of Grizzly Sports Properties and whatnot with. But you guys are an octopus and then some. Your marketing covers a lot more than just selling the radio advertising.
Yeah, that's a great point. We so you hear Learfield a lot throughout our radio broadcasts. So you're right. A lot of people assume that we kind of just run the radio network, which is in sports and just in general. It is one of our strongest tools, if not our strongest. I mean, we have 22 radio stations across Montana that are airing a football game on a given day. So that is a great exposure point for our sponsors, the ads that are in there, the announcer reads, all of the content, the creative features that we do. But yeah, beyond that, it's television rights with our coaches shows, the website, gogrizz.com, one of the most traffic sites in the state, and all the digital marketing opportunities we have on there. Social media has become a giant piece of what we do. Lots of businesses are looking to either grow their social media presence or figure out ways to leverage the loyal following that we have. We have 140,000 followers on our Facebook page. And just to give that some context, at the University of New Hampshire, which is, like I said, a similar sized school, their Facebook page has about 13,000. So you can see it's just such a robust following here.
Oh, yeah.
It's all the in-game promotions, the giveaways, the video board, all of the marketing that we can do during the game, and using on-field appearances and contests to give credit to a company. It's hospitality is a large piece of what we do. So throwing pregame events, tailgate lots, and sponsoring relevant events within athletics. A ticket pickup ceremony presented by a pickup truck seller, for an example. So it really is. It's the way we work this is we go and meet with any business or company or organization in the state that has interest in learning more, and then we decide together whether or not we can customize, create a package or program that will help them. If we decide that it will, the sky is the limit for what we can do, as long as Kent approves it. But we make up our partnerships and customize them from the ground up, depending on the needs of our partners.
Kent's a pretty flexible guy, isn't he? He wouldn't tell you no too often, I wouldn't think.
Well, you'd be surprised. I asked some pretty crazy questions, but no, he's really good, and he sees obviously the value of having corporate partnership. And in a day and age like this, I think all universities across the country are realizing that public-private partnerships are the future. So.
You're listening to Sports Talk Tonight with Gurns and Bedard, minus Gurns. Scott on vacation this week. When we come back, more with Justin Barnes, general manager at Grizzly Sports Properties, Learfield. Going to ask about Grizz Vision. We need to talk a little more about Grizz Vision. I hear they might be looking for a new radio voice. We'll see what we can find out about that and more as Sports Talk Tonight continues here on KGVO.
Now back to Missoula's Sports Talk Tonight on KGVO.
Missoula Sports.
Every second of every day.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for being a part of things tonight. Sports Talk Tonight brought to you in part by Grizzly Liquor, located downtown next to the Iron Horse. Big sky, big selection, and online at grizzlyliquor.com. Sports Talk Tonight with Scott Gurnsey and Denny Bedard. Scott Gurnsey taking the week off. Our first guest tonight is Justin Barnes, general manager of Grizzly Sports Properties Learfield. Softball coach Jamie Pinkerton will be joining us shortly after the bottom of the hour. But, Justin, when we left off before the break, and Chuck Mays from the University of Montana, who's very, very involved in a lot of the facility stuff going on over there. Love Chuck. He does a great job.
He sure does.
We had him on phone interview about it a couple weeks ago. But there is a new Grizz Vision. It's not a new toy to Washington Grizzly Stadium. We've had that for a long time, but it is the whole bigger and better and new and improved and all of that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, so talk about coming in at the right time. I hope I get some credit for this, although I kind of came in as it was being finalized. But it is, a new, if you've been to a football game or even just driven by the stadium, we had a video board. Denny, you probably know better than I how long that one had been there.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So we, the university worked with ANC scoreboards to install this, and I just saw the progress today. It looks like they're getting close to hoisting the thing, which I think is definitely going to be the impressive unveiling. But it's about 10 feet, I think, wider than the board that we had. The footprint is actually going to be lower, so the sight lines will be better from around the stadium, which is going to be really great. And then the other thing that we're doing that most people don't know is the two we call tri-vision board panels that were flanking the scoreboard.
On either end of it, right?
On
like
either side,
yeah.
We're actually converting those to LED screens as well. So we'll be able to do more animated graphics on those to complement the scoreboard. So really just a bigger, better scoreboard product going in there. And the thing that everyone asks first is, well, what about the sound? So the other nice piece of this upgrade is that we are redoing the sound system as well as part of this project. So, really quite a facelift to have on that south end zone.
And this new board is being put up through a company called ANC. What is Learfield's affiliation with ANC?
So until last year, more just strategic partners, but actually Learfield acquired ANC last year because we, as Learfield and at the 120 plus universities that we work at, really do find the need more and more to be upgrading infrastructure like this and to find new and creative ways to enhance the game day experience for fans and thereby enhancing what we can offer to corporate sponsors. So last year, Learfield acquired ANC, and so now they are technically a Learfield company.
And they do a lot of these around the country, I assume, and have been for quite some time.
Yeah, and I just found out a school that they're going to be working at, but I don't know if it's been announced yet, so I don't want to, I guess, break that. But yeah, they're starting. They've really come on the last few years in this space, and some of the jobs that they're landing now really prove how much respect they've gained in the industry.
Not to try to compare them to something or apples and oranges, or maybe it's apples and apples, or say, hey, they're just like, or they're not quite this company. I guess the only company that I can equate to what they do would be, say, Daktronics. Is that a pretty well known?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the other name in the game. And Dak's a great company. I've worked with Daktronics myself a number of times. Actually, at the University of New Hampshire, right before I came over here, we installed a Daktronics board in the hockey arena there. Very similar, obviously, in terms of what they do. We like ANC and believe in them, obviously, because they're part of the family at Learfield. But from the university standpoint, they offer a lot of support, not just installing the board, but then after the board's installed and how to use it correctly and to maximize the value that we can get from it. So they've been really helpful in that regard.
Excuse me. Another project that was in the works, actually, when you stepped into the position, that a decision was made to make a change in personnel in terms of the announcer, the broadcast voice of Grizzly football and men's basketball. And so we will have a new one of those on board. And while that was done, that was not your call. This is before your time by a couple of months. You sort of stepped into that as well. And how has that gone so far?
Yeah, and to be honest, Mick was one of the first guys that I met with, Mick O'Lean, when I got into town. I think, and he would tell you this, I think the decision that was made, was mutual. And I think there was, I think the reaction that it got, got a little blown up in the media and yada, yada, this or that. But, I will say that as a university, as an athletic department, as Grizzly Sports Properties, we look at Mick with nothing but the utmost respect. His legacy should be celebrated and is celebrated, and will continue to be celebrated, and for all that he did for the Grizz. That said, we are excited. You know, it was a national, and it is a national search for a new play-by-play announcer. You know, the Grizz has such a lore in broadcasting that, you know, we were able to get applications from across the country from some very talented broadcasters. You know, I can't announce who it's going to be yet. I will say.
I thought we were breaking something here tonight.
The decision is forthcoming.
Very soon.
Very
right?
soon. You know, maybe by the end of the week, I think people might find out. And we're excited about it. And you know, in no way are we looking to fill the shoes of Mick Holine. We look to retire those shoes for all that they've done, and really find you know, the next voice of the Grizz.
Well, yeah, you've got to have your own identity for
That's
something
right.
like that. So, Justin Barnes is our guest. He is the see Justin. I apologize for this. Is what happens when you're trying to do this all by yourself,
Right.
As the producer and co-host and all of that. We'll be right with you. Hang on, we'll be right with you. Yeah, so that's what happens there. I apologize for that. So yeah, it's got to be somebody with their own identity, and you again probably came in not quite at the beginning of the job search, somewhere in the. I don't know if I don't think applications had started to be accepted yet.
Yeah, I
prior to when you got here.
I got here right at the
You know,
kind of the beginning
rumor,
of the search.
Yeah,
right.
the rumors were out there. I mean,
Yep.
a lot of guys knew about it
Right.
that might be interested in pursuing it.
Right.
But and of course, Learfield has their own prescribed criteria for what they're looking for in terms of number of years of experience with a high caliber. If you called eighth grade squash, and that's your resume, you probably we're not going to get looked at for this job.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing that and luckily we have just a fantastic VP of broadcast operations named Tom Bowman for Learfield.
Yes, I know Tom.
Yeah, who's been responsible for these types of hires at a number of schools over the years, and so he kind of manages the bulk of the search and contracts with a national firm. With a very strict set of criteria that we look for in terms of experience. And, to be frank, though, with a state like Montana, the ties to Montana are important. The knowledge of the state and making sure that the candidate would be a good fit, not just professionally, but personally to live in an area like this. And we had, I want to say, even people that just passed that very strict criteria, almost 100 applicants for Tom to go through. Using his experience to call that list down further. And then we work with the university directly from there to figure out who out of the finalists will get the nod.
Because this is it's a decision by committee
Right.
thing, and it's kind of not an odd committee, but it's sort of an interesting dynamic in that you've got a Learfield operations manager who has a lot of experience in finding guys like this. So you think, well, okay, there's a guy you want on your team for a people search, but he's in Missouri,
Right.
And then you've got the fairly new general manager at Learfield Sports Learfield Grizzly Sports Properties. Has been on the job for a couple months, but worked. His career was on the other side of the country, so maybe it's going to be a little bit different style. And then you have the athletic department, who they want some input too. But as far as Grizzly Sports Properties is concerned, it's one of those positions I would assume where you, as a general manager, you would like to have somebody who can carry on the legacy of being, kind of a public figure, if you will, a public relations figure, if you will, because they are the product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're the spokesman for a lot of those advertisers.
Right. And, as much as we facilitate the search, the final call comes to the athletic department. And even throughout the entire search, in terms of feedback and recommendations for people that should be considered, it's all the athletic department, because this is, at the end of the day, this position becomes the not just the voice of the Grizz, but when done correctly, the face of the Grizz in a lot of ways too. It's the MC that will lead off an awards ceremony, and it's the voice of a radio commercial promoting the next Grizz game. So this person is very important to the program, and one that we feel very confident that the whole department and everyone that should be represented having an opinion got to weigh in, which is that's a good thing for us to say and feel.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I still think it's amazing and impressive that you had that much qualified talent coming after this job.
Yeah, it's and some of the people that probably didn't make the list were the guys with the 8th grade squash experience, but it was amazing, how the diversity of experience that we got. I mean, minor league baseball announcers and those who have done football at Division III schools, and so it was neat to see and to listen to all of these voices as well, because we listened to a lot of highlights.
Justin Barnes, General Manager of Grizzly Sports Properties, Learfield, our guest the first half of Sports Talk tonight. And you probably don't want to be reminded of this. It's hard to believe, but we are now less than 3 months away from our first broadcasts of the season, because we get the coaches' shows on before the first home football or the first football game and the play-by-play broadcast. So where are you at right now? What does Grizzlies?
I don't want to think of that yet. Yeah. Holy cow!
Lots left to do, I assume.
Yeah, so we're this is really the height of our, I hate to say sales, but it ends up, we're selling sponsorships.
Sure.
At the end of the day, but this is the height of our getting out and meeting new businesses and organizations that might have an interest in promoting their services or offerings or messages through our just enormous channels, whether it's through media or at our games. But it's also making sure that our current partners know how appreciated they are, if they're out of a contract, to make sure that they come back on, that we show them all of the new things that we're doing. So it's a busy time for us. It's a real get out and meet people time of year for us.
Well, Nick, exciting time too, because I'm sure that you have, like you say, you have your brand loyal, longtime advertisers, partners, who are anxious to let's get it signed up and get it renewed. I want what I had last year,
right,
or I'd like to look at this as well. But you also have, you probably had inquiries, or you go out and pursue some new potential partners as well. And I think when you say that you're representing the Grizzly broadcasts and all of that, probably helps get your foot in the door a little bit.
I will say that's, for us to at least get that first meeting, we're lucky to be able to say the Grizz.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, from there, it's up to us to prove the value of actually officially partnering with us. But just to get in and talk about the Grizz, it's amazing how many people in this community, across the state, even out of the state, have been touched by the University of Montana, and then specifically how many of them follow the university by way of the Grizz. Since it is such a front-facing aspect of the university, we call ourselves, or I call us the front porch a lot of times, because we are kind of that most visible piece. And it's just incredible. The business owners and leaders that I speak with in town, if they didn't go to the University of Montana, they have a son or daughter there, or their parents went, or they have friends there. So it's incredible what the university means to Missoula.
And it's nice that the customers don't say to you, "Oh no, we're going to advertise with the Patriots or the,
right,
or the Red Sox,
that's
or
right,
or the Bruins."
Right. Sometimes down a little south, they'll say the Bobcats, which is just as bad. But and in all fairness, the Montana State is also a Learfield school, so I don't want to badmouth them too much. And we actually get to work with them strategically when it makes sense, especially with the Brawl of the Wild, for example. That's a really neat, obviously historic rivalry, but a neat sponsorship opportunity as well.
Yeah. Well, it's been great having you here. We do actually, I wanted you on as a guest so people get acquainted with you, but you and I actually do work together. I work a little bit on the side with Learfield and Grizzly Sports Properties, as does Scott Gurnsey. So we'll be seeing you this fall, but I was anxious to get you in, and we're excited to have you here, and good luck with everything.
Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Justin Barnes, our first guest tonight. When we come back, we'll have Jamie Pinkerton, University of Montana softball coach, on Sports Talk tonight with Gurns and Bedard, minus Gurns. He's on vacation this week.
A reminder from Jerry Wessel's Les Schwab Tire Center. Before
Sports Talk tonight, live from the KGVO studio.
Missoula Sports.
Welcome back to Sports Talk tonight. We are brought to you in part by Bell McCall Ford, a great selection of new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs. Your low-cost auto dealer downtown Hamilton is Bell McCall Ford. Our thanks to Justin Barnes, General Manager of Grizzly Sports Properties, Learfield, coming in for the first half of the show. You hadn't met Justin yet, had you, Jamie?
Oh, no, I hadn't.
Yeah, you kind of passed each other in the hall or something since their offices are down from you. But Jamie Pinkerton, head coach of University of Montana Grizzly Softball, just completed their second season. First off, congratulations on the success you had. And how do you feel about things? How would you summarize the year?
Well, I think we started off and had a rough patch in early April where we had dropped 5 straight road games. I think that was the turning point when we lost 2 games at Utah State and 2 games or the series at Idaho State got swept. We had leads in all those games and had lost 6 in a row and came back home. And then we were able to win 6 in a row, and then we lost 1, and then we won 8 in a row and got on a run and finished winning the season, winning 14 of 15 to play for the conference championship on Saturday. So the season ebbs and flows, and the ladies got on a roll and put us in a good position. For second year, I can't sit here and tell you last February or even in mid-March when we were 13-23 and 4-5 in the Big Sky that come the first week of May we would be playing for a conference championship. It just was it was just an awesome run that the ladies got on. They got confident. All 3 facets of the game were clicking together, and we finished the season winning 14 of 16 and then went 2-2 in the tournament. So when you win 16 of 18 games or 16 of 20 games to end the season, I couldn't have said that we'd be in that position. And so I'm really proud of the ladies. All that does is sets the bar standard, and we embrace that. So obviously after year 2, we're probably ahead of schedule where we thought we would be. Now we just got to set the bar higher and continue to get better.
Is that what changed the most? You talk about winning so many games in the back half of the season. Would you say it was it was just a confidence factor, or just a series of little things that all of a sudden everything clicked and they got it, or what happened?
Well, I think obviously what plagued us in the 13-23 start, first off, the first 6 weeks we played a top 50 schedule. Our RPI was in the 150s. And for a mid-major in a school of our size in our conference, the schedule had a lot to do with some of the games we were losing. And then when we got into the portion of the season, conference play and the non-conference season, I think we started playing defense really well. We limited mistakes and went a stretch there. Last year we filled it around 956, 958 as a team, and it was a goal to fill it around 965, I don't have the stats in front of me obviously, but we finished right there. And I said to the ladies, if we can do that, and pitching was about the same as last year because the staff was even younger this year than it was last year with the graduation of Kinsey Cole. But I said if we could get the pitching to stay where it's at or improve ERA and we could get our fielding percentage up, we were going to win 5 to 7 more ball games. Yeah. And then and then up and down the lineup, every hitter in the lineup all the way down to 8 and 9 was above 300. So we were scoring runs at a bigger clip than what we did a year ago. So I think to go from 16 wins and have that 13-game turnaround, I think a lot of things had to fall in place, and I think it was just that we were better offensively, defensively, and the pitching was about the same even with a younger staff. So we can continue to do that and get better defensively and on the mound. The sky's the limit.
When you put together a pre-conference schedule like that, you're obviously well connected given your background and where you've coached and everything, but does it make any difference year to year how you fared in those games? I mean, not necessarily you didn't necessarily win the game, but you had some good showings against some pretty big name schools,
right?
And does that factor in where, hey, we would like to come here and play you again? Well, yeah, you're a worthy opponent. We'd love to have you.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously scheduling is all a part of it. I think could I schedule easier and get more W's? Obviously, the answer to that's probably yes. Does it make us better? Probably not.
No. The other thing I would interrupt you with there is that you don't necessarily use it as a recruiting tool because you don't know too far down the road who you're playing. But I can't imagine that if you showed a potential recruit a schedule, they'd be looking for a bunch of lousy teams. on there.
Right.
They're looking at, wow, you guys play them every year. You play there. You go there. You play the. Wow.
Right. Well, like the first year it was Nebraska and Texas Tech
Sure.
and schools of that nature, Power 5 conference schools. This year it was Arizona State and Washington.
Yeah.
Who very well could. It wouldn't have been surprising if they weren't playing in the World Series, but they ran into Alabama. Next year Oregon's on the schedule, so I'm still piecing together the schedule for next year. So it's a thing. Two things happen there. One, the ladies get to play teams that they felt should have recruited them, so they have a little bit of chip on their shoulder.
All right.
Two, when you play that quality opponent, obviously that's going to make you elevate your game and make you better. And if you can elevate your game and get better, well, then that's going to help you when you get into the conference portion of the season. So as long as Kent and Gene don't mind us getting roughed up a little bit in the season, there's a method to the madness. I would rather be 3 games above 500 and playing for a conference championship every year than be 40-10 and finishing 4th or 5th. So I think playing those teams, makes you better. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do, is we want to win Big Sky championships. And I think when we start playing opponents and that elevates our game, that's going to make us better in the long run.
And a lot of respectable performances in those games too. I doubt that you very often walked away and go, man, we were just totally outclassed or outmatched, because you were there in a lot of those games.
Right.
That's got to be a confidence builder as well, I would think.
Exactly. I mean, just go out and compete until the final out, and I was just really proud of the way we played this year, and to finish 29-27, 14-7, tied for 3rd in the Big Sky in the second year. Obviously, I got greedy as a head coach, and outside of the team, with the team not around, of the thinking, man, I really would like to win this, when knowing that we still had a bunch of sophomores. And I think at the end of the day, we've had close to a month to reflect on it and have our exit meetings and look forward to what we're recruiting, and look forward to the fall of this year and the spring of 17. I think the program's in a good spot, and there's still going to be bumps. I mean, the one thing we lack is we have quality individuals on our team, but you're always looking for depth, and I think we're doing a good job of getting that put together, and I still think we're a year or two away in that. And as long as we avoid major injuries, I think we got a chance at being really good next year.
And even a 2-year-old team has a senior day, your final home game of the regular season this year, a couple months back, or however far we're going back. You had to say goodbye to a couple seniors already.
Well, just really, Maggie Wright, Kelsey Lacostick, and Madeline Merritt. It's never it's a special day when you can honor seniors and they get to go out on the field with their parents and have the ceremony that we had. But what's special about that group is they bought in, and they wanted to be a part of a new program, and not all the time. Kelsey obviously and Madeline were already on campus and they tried out, but Maggie could have gone somewhere else more established, and she elected to be a Grizz. And those seniors are always special, but those will always be special because they were the first ones in Kinsey Cole last year to be all in with us.
Yeah. Our guest on Sports Talk tonight, Jamie Pinkerton, head coach of University of Montana Grizzly Softball. Brought to you by Jerry Wessel's Tire Center, locally owned Les Schwab Tire Center, providing the best tire value promise. Visit them online at jerrywesselstirecenter.com. And by CHS Mountain West Co-op, Western Montana's source for Cenex fuel, feed, fertilizer, clothing, and tack for over 75 years. Now then, Coach, on to the conference season. It was what a strange and just heart palpitating finish to the year, where you go into the final home series against Weber State, and just by a thread, just the narrowest of margin, it's anywhere from 1st to 4th place where you can finish up during the regular season. And it didn't work out quite the way you wanted, yet you swept that series. What were the kids' frames of mind while all this is going on? Because you had some great crowd.
Right. Actually, we didn't sweep the series because we would have won the crown if we had. We lost the finale on Saturday.
Sorry, 2 games to 1.
Right.
You won the series.
Right. But going in and being in that position was great. That we won 5-2 the first game, and I thought, I was thinking to myself, wow, if we can get game 2, then we play a big game Saturday, and the crowds were great, and we won the first one. Obviously, Weber was up 2-1. They added 2 in the top of the 7th to go up 4-1. We're thinking, oh, well, they're more experienced. They were picked to win the championship. They were the conference tournament champion last year. They were 20 games above 500 coming in. I think they were like 35-17. A great ball club. And then to get that rally in the 7th in Bethany Olea, it's the loudest I've heard the field over there, Grizzly softball park. And
talk about that inning. I mean, it was just an amazing sequence of events. Didn't it all start with 2 outs, or
it was a 2-out rally, which we did quite a bit. And we just got in a situation where we had first, and we got a couple on, got first and had first and second when Bethany Olea was up, and she worked. She had a great at bat. I would have to go back and watch video, but I think it was probably a 8 to 10 pitch at bat, and she got a ball that she could handle and hit it in the gap. And with it being 2 outs, obviously the players are not waiting to see if it dropped, and it would taken. There's no way. I don't think if I wanted to hold Del Colburn up, I was going to be able to hold her up. But once it got in that gap at our field, and Madeline Merritt was at second, and Del Colburn was at first. Del runs well. Once it got by the outfielders in the gap, I knew we were going to win. And it was just. I wish I would have stayed back. It's one of the few times I've ever been in a dog pile. Well, I got shoved into it, but I usually stand back and watch the kids. But for some reason, first time in my career, I was running. Everyone's making a joke I was going to beat the runner home and whatnot. And I was going, yeah, right. And I watched the video, and I was pretty jazzed up myself. But they like to kill me, so I know now that I'm just going to stay back and watch. I got shoved into the fence, and they were bouncing up and down, and I went out to congratulate Beth, and I got pushed into the dog pile, and a couple of kids jumped on me, and I'm too old for that.
I was going to ask, was this your first and last career dog pile?
Yeah, well, I hope to stay out of them because I was pretty sore for a day or two after that, but you know what? It was worth it.
Sure. And had to compete in the Big Sky Conference tournament on the road. Ended up, I believe, 2-2 in the tournament,
right.
Double elimination, and probably not quite as far as you wanted to go, but still, you played some good ball down in the tournament.
Right. Well, it's probably where we should have been. I mean, on paper and how it turned out, we won the first round game, and then obviously got Weber back on their home field, and they were very good. They only lost 1 game at home all year, and we knew that was going to be a tall challenge. And they scored some runs late and beat us 10-2. The game was closer than the score indicated. We came back the next game in an elimination game, jumped out to a 4-0 lead, and then Portland got up 7 or 8-6, and then we came back and won 14-8 and got back into the Final Four, and then we just ran out of gas. I mean, we'd played that we hadn't played 4 games in 2 days in a long time since tournament play in the midseason, and I just think with the adrenaline from the previous weekend, the quick travel and turnaround, and going down the tournament, and playing on that Saturday when we played for the conference championship, and then when we played Weber in the second round, I think it was a stage that our kids, I didn't do a good job of preparing them, and I just think it was a stage that they were a little nervous and we weren't as sharp. And,
when you say that, what would you have done differently?
I probably would have said it. It's championship play. There's a lot on the line. I probably would have been a little bit more lighthearted with them, instead of giving them all the information that we do in preparation for games. Probably would have been a little bit lighthearted to get their mind off of what we were playing for. Except we did business as usual, and hindsight's 20/20. I wish that we had fun, but I wish that that I could have figured out a way to loosen them up before that Saturday game and before the tournament game. I thought we were a little bit nervous and jittery on that stage, which with a bunch of sophomores, when you're starting 7 sophomores, a freshman, and a junior, you're probably going to be nervous. So, and I saw that last year when we were playing on the final weekend at Weber, trying to get into the tournament. We didn't play at Weber that first year, and we didn't get into the tournament. And they learned from that and grew. And, I'm hoping maybe that now that they've been on the stage, they played for a conference championship. Last year they were playing to get in. This year they were playing for the championship, and then they were playing for a bid to the NCAAs. I hope being on that stage will smooth them out also. But if I had to do it over again, it probably would have been a little less prep. Leave that to Coach Michael and myself, and made it a little bit more lighthearted for them. And they had a good time, but should have probably, as a head coach, I wish I would have found a way to loosen them up a little bit.
For the benefit of those who don't know, college softball season is a little unique in that it's split in a way. Can you talk about when you play when and how long between parts of the season and things like that?
Well, we have a non-championship segment, which with the weather here, we try to play. We can start practice September 1st, and we try to end up by the first or second week of October. Get 6 weeks in, and we get to play 8 games, which I just finalized today. Washington is going to come here and play in Missoula this fall. Wow. So we'll have UW here. I'm pretty good friends with the staff. We played at their tournament and played them this year, and they wanted to prepare their kids and freshmen that they have coming in for a road trip. So they're going to come over and play in Missoula on Thursday night, September 22nd. All right. We're going to play at 4 o'clock. I just set that today. But anyways, you play 8 games. Basically, it's kind of like Major League spring training. You play your starters 2 or 3 innings, and then you do different things with the lineup, shuffle things around, try to learn about your team in the fall. Then you take a break in October, go into off season where we can work with them 2 hours a week. They're in weights and conditioning 6 hours. We work with them 2 hours. That goes all the way up until they go home, and then they come back in mid-January and we start practice, and then we get into the season.
And you can take those 8 games that you play in the fall. Is that part of your season record? You can carry those? No?
It doesn't count.
Just
so when Washington comes over, if they win, it's just good experience for their kids.
Yeah.
It's you're 0 and
Do you like
0.
that? Do you like that?
I'm glad they're coming over because we're in a position where it's hard for us to play another Division I opponent. I mean, obviously they're a Pac-12. They were a top 10 team last year. It's going to be a great test for us, and we'll see where we're at. Nothing against the teams that we play in the fall, but you're playing JUCOs and NAIAs and things of that nature, and they can still beat you. I mean, there's going to be a time that one of those schools beat us just because of what we're doing with their lineup, or they might be flat out better that day. Luckily, in 2 years we're 15-1 in the fall. You keep score, but you don't. But I'm real excited about them coming over because that'll be a chance for us to really see how we stand and where we're at, and it'll be in the middle of our fall season. So really happy about that. But anyways, you get in and you can play 56 games in the regular season starting, usually the first week of February. Then you play the 21 Big Sky Conference games. What I like about this year in 17, our schedule goes back the other way. We have 4 conference series at home and 3 on the road. So if we continue to improve, obviously right now our goal is always to win a Big Sky championship, but I think it's within a little bit better reach than it was in August of 2013 when I was hired.
Before I let you go, I know that you can't say everything we'd like to know about it, so I'll tippy-toe in, but what are you looking forward to with the upcoming team in terms of returning players and some of the recruits that you can say something about?
Well, I mean, obviously, we just lost the 3 seniors, and we have 4 coming in, which I can talk about. We have Morgan Johnson, who's coming off of a very good season with Missoula Big Sky. She'll come in and catch. She's an athlete, so we'll check out her versatility. That's what the fall's for. We know she can catch, but I'd like to take a look at her at a different couple of positions for versatility reasons. We have a pitcher that just won the state championship in Nevada. She won the state championship there, and I think think at one time, I don't know what her final record was, but when I was following her, she was 19-0. Her name's Michaela Hood. She's 6'1" and throws into low 60s. We think we can get her into the mid 60s. Then we have 2 outfielders coming in. It's going to be interesting. We got a young lady named Kylie Hayton is coming in. She's an outfielder, a lot of speed, slapper, speed type, kind of like Gabby Martinez, and McKenna McGill, but she had a torn ACL, so she missed all last fall and all of her high school season, so she'll be a little bit behind. And then we have Anne-Marie Petrino, for everyone that knows. It's Paul Petrino's daughter, the football coach at Idaho, and she's another kid that can swing away on the left side, hit, has speed. So what we're trying to do is get that green grass turf out there, or green turf covered with a lot of speed. So those are the 4. 17 recruiting's going well. Obviously, I can't talk about names, but we do have some commitments. We have 3 commitments in the 17 class, and they're going to help. What we're trying to do is back-end recruit so that when in 18, when we lose these 13 sophomores that are now to be juniors, or now juniors at the school year's over, we're going to hopefully get it where our roster is going to balloon one year, but when they leave, we only have to replace 5 or 6 of them instead of 13 of them. So the 17 class is going to be a little bit larger, and our roster size is going to be a little bit larger, and hopefully we can keep team chemistry in check, because we're going to have 24 to 25 players, and sometimes that could be a problem in itself. But if we can just get them to hold tight and know that it's a 1-year deal until we get this first class graduated, and it's going to be sad. It's going to be sad, but the day's coming that all of those kids are going to graduate, and it's going to be. I don't want to think about it yet, but we're a couple of years away from a very big senior day.
Yeah. Well, nothing but the best. Keep it going. Doing a great job, and we love having you on Sports Talk tonight. Congratulations on the recently completed season, and we look forward to talking to you more.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Jamie Pinkerton, our guest, head coach, University of Montana Grizzly Softball. We'll be back to wrap things up on Sports Talk tonight, right after this.
Is your lawn looking frail? CHS Mountain West